We love urban legends, don't we? Tales of strange creatures lurking in the woods, masked figures that appear in the dead of night. Those stories that dance on the edge of belief, leaving us wondering, could it be true? There's a story whispered along the back roads of Fairfax County, Virginia. A story that hides in the shadow of trees, waiting for those who wander too far from the safety of the road. This is the tale of the Bunnyman, part legend, part nightmare, and entirely unsettling. Fairfax County, Virginia. On the surface, it's a quiet suburban area, a picture of serenity. But beneath this calm exterior lies a legend that has stirred imaginations for over 50 years. A figure that roams the night, leaving behind strange traces and whispered warnings. They call him the Bunnyman. No one knows exactly when it began. Some say the early 1900s, others swear it's more recent. But nearly everyone agrees on one thing. The Bunnyman is out there. And once you hear the story, you'll understand why it stayed alive, creeping into the minds of locals, sowing just enough fear to make you think twice about venturing out alone. It starts with an old abandoned asylum hidden deep within the woods of Clifton, Virginia. They say it was shut down years ago, deemed unfit to house the deranged. As the asylum closed, its inmates were transferred by bus to another facility. But on the way, something went wrong. The bus veered off the road, crashing into the thick forest. Police arrived to find the wreckage, twisted metal and broken glass. Yet 2 inmates were missing. For weeks, authorities searched for them. They found one of the men soon after dead, hanging from a tree, with rabbit carcasses scattered around him. The other prisoner, never found. But soon after, people began finding more mutilated rabbits throughout the woods, torn apart, left dangling from branches. People reported seeing a figure dressed in white, lurking near an old train bridge at night. Some said it looked like a man. Others swore it wasn't. But what they all agreed on was the mask, a decaying, ragged rabbit mask that hid whatever lay underneath. This brings us to the infamous Bunnyman Bridge, a narrow tunnel of stone tucked into the woods outside Fairfax. The place itself feels wrong, even in daylight. Old graffiti covers the walls, and the bridge is just low enough to make you feel claustrophobic. But at night, it's a whole different story. They say if you stand under the bridge at midnight, especially on Halloween, you can feel the Bunnyman watching you. Sometimes you hear footsteps on the gravel. Other times, you'll see movement just beyond the tree line. But if you hear the scrape of metal and stone, that's the sound of the Bunnyman's axe. And they say if you're still standing there when the clock strikes 12, you'll never leave the bridge. Of course, that's all just a story, right? But here's the part where things get strange. In 1970, something happened that blurred the line between folklore and reality. According to OffbeatNova.com, an Air Force Academy cadet, Robert Bennett, and his fiancée were returning from a football game around midnight and went to visit an uncle who lived on Guinea Road. As they sat parked by his house, they noticed movement. Out of the dark, he appeared. Just barely lit by the headlights was a man, dressed in what seemed like a homemade rabbit costume, brandishing a hatchet. Without a word, he hurled the weapon at the car window, shattering the glass. He began to yell at them that they were trespassing and he would kill them. They quickly sped off into the night, still hearing his shouts in the distance. The police investigated, but no suspect was ever found. 2 weeks later, another similar sighting was reported. According to a report from the Monitor, a security guard had sighted a man in a white bunny suit with floppy ears chopping away at a construction site with a hatchet. When the guard approached the man, he said, "You are trespassing. If you come any closer, I'll chop off your head." When the police investigated, the man had already disappeared. No one was ever caught. So, where does that leave us? Was it a prankster with a flair for the theatrical? A local who snapped and dressed up as a bunny to scare trespassers? Or could there be something deeper, something darker? It's one thing to hear a tale told around a bonfire, another to know it's tied to actual police reports. What makes this story stick? Why do people want to believe in the Bunnyman? Some people say that folklore like this taps into primal fears, the fear of the unknown, the terror of the unnatural blending with the familiar. A man dressed as a bunny, something cute and harmless, becomes the exact opposite, a symbol of chaos and danger. There's also the allure of the unsolved. What makes the Bunnyman Bridge so fascinating isn't just the creepy imagery, it's the fact that no one knows the whole truth. Did the Bunnyman really exist? Why wasn't he ever caught? Why did the incidents stop as abruptly as they began? It's the gaps in the story that keep it alive, passed down from one generation to the next. Maybe the Bunnyman is still out there, watching, waiting. Or maybe it's just a good story that we tell because deep down we all love a good scare. Here's the thing about urban legends. They feed on fear, but they also feed on curiosity. If you visit Bunnyman Bridge today, you'll find a graffiti on the walls and a road scarred by years of teenage dares. But you might also feel something else, like you're being watched, just out of sight. Because what if the Bunnyman isn't just a story? What if he's still out there, waiting, just beyond the edge of the forest, watching the next curious soul wander too far from safety? So, if you ever find yourself driving down a dark road in Fairfax County and you see a figure in the distance, ears twitching, axe glinting in the moonlight, my advice is simple. Don't stop, and whatever you do, don't look back.